Hey guys, David the Fishing Pastor here for Cast King, and I was recently inspired by Cast King's motto, affordable innovation, to bring you this video on some creative and inexpensive fishing hacks. I don't know about you, but I love finding little hacks that make my life a whole lot easier, especially when it comes to fishing. I want to spend more time either actually fishing or just doing more important things. So like I said, I want to bring you some creative and inexpensive hacks that'll help you hopefully before, during, and even after you're fishing. So the first hack I have for you is an organizational hack. Now, I don't know about you, but I tend to have a bunch of these hooks that'll just kind of be floating around everywhere, and I'll throw them in a little tackle box. When I go to get them, I'll open up the tackle box and they've been jumbled around, and they're mixed in with other hooks, or they're all tangled up, and I have to sort through them and find the right one, and it's such a headache. And I love having organization within my tackle. It makes my life easier, and it makes me not want to pull my hair out so much. So what I've done is I found a couple of ways to just organize these hooks, and these in particular are smaller hooks that I use for like panfish, bluegill, crappie, things like that. But it'll work for some larger hooks. It'll work even for some of your lures. The first one that I have is I just took a regular little paper clip, and what I did was just kind of bent it out, and I put it through the eye of these hooks. And it becomes almost like a stringer for these hooks, and so they're just on here. They're not floating around everywhere. They're not getting tangled up. It's super organized, and all I have to do is just grab the little paper clip, take it out, and then they're all on that paper clip. They're incredibly, like I said, organized. All I have to do is just remove one, and then the rest are there. I know where they are. I know what size they are. They're all together, and if I need to get them, I just go to my tackle box and grab this little paper clip. It's super simple, and it's super easy. You can go and buy probably a bunch of these little paper clips for a whole box for really cheap, or if you just have some around your house. You do have to find some of the smaller ones depending on the size of the hook, depending on the size of the eye of the hook. You have to get paper clips that will accommodate that. If the paper clip's too big, you can use it for some larger hooks, some larger eyes. But if you're using some of these small ones in particular, then just make sure to get some of those little tiny paper clips, and it's a great way to organize all your little hooks. Another really easy thing to do, and this one you can use, like I said, for small hooks, for large hooks, and even for some lures, is just to grab some kind of foam type material, styrofoam or anything like that, and just take your hooks, and what you can do is actually just hook them directly into the styrofoam or the foam or whatever you have, and then you can just line them up one by one, and they actually stay there really well. And that way you can, what I did was I just cut it to the shape of my little tackle box. I have this little tiny terminal tackle box, and I just took the foam, cut it into the shape, and so it fits directly into the space there. And so all I have to do is hook my hooks into there, put this in there, and then whenever I need one, I can go in and just take one hook out, and it's good to go. And again, you can cut it to different sizes. You can use it for different size hooks. You don't have to worry about them again flying around, floating around, getting mixed in with other hooks. It's just a simple little hack to help organize your tackle, so that when you get to the water, or prior to getting to the water, when you're organizing all your stuff, all you do is go in and grab your stuff, and it's a whole lot easier, and you're not having to sort through a bunch of mixed up crazy tackle. So the next hack has to do with coloring your baits and just really bringing some more life to them. Now if you're using some small swim baits or something like a fluke or something like that, and you just want to make it stand out a little bit more, you can always go out and buy some of these scented colored pens or whatever they are, and they definitely work. But they can add up and be a little bit more pricey. Or you can just go to your local store and pick up some Sharpies or some markers that are multicolored. You can find them in reds and blues and just so many different colors, and just use that, and you can color up your baits, make them stand out a little bit more. Get a highlighter for some chartreuse, something like that, and it's going to be just a simple, quick, and inexpensive way to bring some more life to your baits. Also, another thing that I use is some of these dyes that you dip your baits into, and a lot of time you can just dip it in and dip in the tail, and that's a lot of times going to be sufficient. But what I like to do is actually just take a little paintbrush with me, and these are these little tiny paintbrushes that my daughters use to paint with, and I just took one and broke off the back part, and I'll actually use this. I'll dip this into the dye, and then I'll use it to paint my bait itself, and that not only adds color, but it also adds a really good scent to it, and that way you're not really getting your hands dirty, and you're not only dyeing the back part of it, but you're creating patterns that can make it look more like an actual shad or whatever it is. And that's just a really simple, easy way to just, again, add some life and add some color to your lures. Now, I love fishing things like Texas rigs, and you know, whether you're fishing a hog style bait or a creature bait or a worm or whatever you're fishing, you know, you're using EWG hooks or straight shanked hooks or whatever. Some hooks come with bait keepers and some don't. And if you're an angler on a budget, a lot of times the difference between a pack of hooks with bait keepers and without bait keepers can sometimes be pretty significant, and you may not want to dish out the money. And there's a solution to that. You know, a lot of times what you'll find is you're getting bites, or you're hooking up, and you're finding that your bait is getting taken down the hook like that, and then it's ugly, and you gotta keep fixing it, and it's tearing through your bait, and it really lessens the life of that bait because it's just tearing through it and tearing through it. And there's a really simple solution to that to help you out, and really all you do is take some really heavy wiry monofilament line and just cut off a small piece, and then what you're going to do is kind of hold it up to the light. And the reason you have to make sure that it's wiry, and you can even actually use wiring for this if you have some really thin metal wiring. You can get that too for, you know, $1 and a few rolls of it. And just take that, and you have to actually poke it through the bait itself, get it through the eye of the hook, and then bring it out on the other side. And that's why it has to be more wiry, because it needs to penetrate the actual bait itself. And if the bait's thicker, you know, again, you can get some really cheap wiring. And but in case you don't have that on you, and you do have some heavy mono line or some heavy wiry line, just take that and cut it out. And then all you have to do is, once you get it through there, you just cut off the excess. And what you'll find is now it's actually going to stay on that hook, and it's not going to be pulled down as easily. Now again, you get a really good bite and it rips off there. You know, you're catching the fish, it's worth it. and you're just going to have to change the bait. Now, I'm going to get to another hack in a second. Don't throw that bait out once it rips, because there's something that you can do to repair it. But there you go. If you don't have a bait keeper on your hook and you find it sliding down, you find that it's ripping, just get some really simple, you know, some really thick fishing line or some thin metal wiring, poke it through there, and it'll actually stay on that hook. So this last hack is one where you know, a lot of times you'll use your baits, and after a good while of using them or a few bites, you'll find that they start to tear apart, and it's easy to just discard them and throw them away and not use them again, but that's kind of throwing money away. So what you can do is just take an old knife and heat it up, and make sure not to burn yourself or cut yourself. And once you've heated it up, just take that and stick it into where it's ripped, and what it'll do is it'll actually mend that bait back together. Because of that soft plastic, it'll melt together due to the heat, and then you have a few more uses out of that bait. So before you just toss them out, discard them, make sure to get them and mend them back together. Get some more use, get your money's worth out of these, so that you're not just throwing away money, unless you're able to buy as many lures and baits as you want whenever you want. But for I'd say most of us who are always on a budget, always looking for ways to save money, this is a really great way to be able to use your baits and elongate that life on them. There you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed these fishing hacks and they make your life and your fishing a whole lot easier. If you have any hacks of your own, I'd love to hear about them. Leave them in the comment section below. Remember to hit that like button on this video and also to subscribe to the channel. And as always, remember to pray, fish, repeat. God bless. I'll see you in my next video.